Oh my God. Hello, 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 and welcome probably again to the Calling podcast. I am hyper super excited for this conversation because officially this is the first time that I'm recording a guest. And wow, this guest. First, it's really hard to say a guest to someone that have a place in your heart. Like it's not a guest. It's like this is so much place, so much space in my heart is with you and Jaclyn. Beyond the name, there's a diva. There's, oh my God, something in between a jungle creature and a meteor. Something, right? Something in between. A divine mother and a wholehearted friend. This is who you are for me. I met you through the online world. I met you, actually, the first time that I've seen you was I've seen a photo of you. And I remember that I looked at the photo and I had this. And I know, by the way, that when Spirit wants to pay my attention or to take my attention, she needs to make something weird. And I remember I looked at it and I said, Who's this woman? What is this post? And that was a love in first sight. And we walked together in a mentoring space for 8-9 months and probably more to come. And you've been such a beautiful presence in my life, in my business, in a period of a huge expansion and big support to level up and share more and be the spiritual teacher that I am in greater scale. So I'm super grateful for you.
I have so much gratitude in my soul from you. I'm so happy that we've landed here in this space today. I feel like in how you and I flow. When you said Jack, I was just going to say Homaya. And I was like, then the conversation might just end there. Because oftentimes for us, there doesn't even need to be words exchanged. And we have been on such a beautiful journey together. And obviously the calling, I feel like the calling has been there. The calling came in very clearly for both you and I before we even connected in this space together, like in this 3D realm. And as you say, for you, it was love at first sight. And for me, it was love at first hearing. And I didn't even know it yet. But as I've shared with you before, I remember the moment I first heard your name. And I heard your name and I had no idea who you are. And I heard my mentor at the time, Melanie, say, my client Homaya. And I heard the word, I heard your name, Homaya, and I just felt something move in my energy. And I was like, I'm gonna know this woman. I meant to know this woman. And I had no idea what was to come, the depth that we would know each other, that we would get to come into this work together. I had no idea then that we were gonna meet each other in person. And I know that both you and I, right from the beginning, trusted in the calling we felt with each other.
Definitely. Definitely. And I feel that one of the things that happened to me is as I got to know you deeper and deeper and more in a way that really nourished me in the sense of, I already had many masters in my life. I already had many mentors in my life. And there is a special relationship that I'm looking for, which is more mature. It's more like, heart to heart, eyes to eyes. And I felt that it was so easy to have this space together with you where I could be powerful and vulnerable, as it is, whatever needed to happen. And one of the things that impressed me so much with you is how the calling that you've received during your life, and as I've listened and learned more and more, I have seen more and more calling that you've received during your life were something that you obey very quickly, very firmly, in the moment. So first, if no one know Jack before, if there are people who are listening and do not know Jack before, go listen to all of her podcasts because it's an amazing one. Follow her, read her content because there's so much clarity and grace and potency that is coming. And you can also hear her story. And I know the situation of how you heard in your head that your husband is expanding his reach, we can say. We can say
Ooh,
that.
I like the wording around that.
Yeah,
Yes.
and you heard that in your head, and then you follow. And you heard in your head that you should stop selling in a certain point in your life, and you follow. And you heard in your heart, in your head, in your heart, that you should end a certain business relationship that you had with your business partner, and you follow. Either pick one, or if you haven't, like an overall experience, what is happening in your inner system when you get spirit?
Well, I mean, this is so interesting, the examples even that you brought here, because these are some very potent examples that I've shared about, and I've shared publicly about, and then there's so many experiences that we just don't even share because we don't even think. But these experiences that you've shared here, and you said this hearing in my mind, it felt like such a knowing in my soul. And each time I felt this knowing, it made no sense to me. Like, I was like, no, like, it can't be. Like, there was this feeling of like, that doesn't even make sense. Like, it felt so out of nowhere, felt like something I could never see coming, something that was not predictable. And all of a sudden, there were these experiences, these callings, and I felt it so deeply in my soul that it was like, I can't, if I go to my mind and try to make sense of it, try to make logic of it, it's not going to happen. And so I really just have to trust in it. And right from the very on and from the beginning, I had experiences where I just was like, I am not willing to deny my soul. There's times in my life I have not listened, and I have denied my soul. And there became a point in time where I was like, no more. Like, I am so willing to trust. I am so willing to trust in what I can't see and what doesn't make sense, because when I feel it deep in my soul, I know that there doesn't need to be an explanation for it.
Yeah. So there's a power that come together with this knowing. And as you said, it's easy to highlight, like pivotal points in life where you change completely. But I'm sure that in order to hear those pivotal point messages, that the antennas are working all day and perceiving even small messages. But then the power to echo, whether it is small or big, it's still a power that comes within you. So whether you need to take like a business decision or guide a client or converse about the future of your relationship with your husband, what do you feel from where the power inside of you came? What was it there for you?
I feel that there's a few factors here. I think one, very, very quickly, and very quickly behind the voice of like feeling this, like, let's say that, the knowing about my husband, also comes the voice, the hearing that you're going to be okay. And so knowing that in whatever I experience, knowing that I am here on a soul journey that my human is going to experience some hard things, some very painful experiences. And through it all, like through the heartbreak, whatever it is, like that I'm going to be okay. And so that I feel like paired with this knowing that I'm going to be okay, also with the thing that I feel like we often don't want to hear in the moment, especially in the moment when we're in heartache or heartbreak or deep sadness in the unknown, we often don't want to hear like that there's something in this for us. And I've always had that trust. Like if I can't see the reasoning behind this, that there's something big. There's something big behind this. If it's like I can't even perceive it, I can't see it right now. And it's trusting in that the universe is conspiring in my favor, God's conspiring in my favor, that truly the creations, the co-creations, the things that are happening in my energetic field are at the core happening for me.
Yeah. And there's also, from as I know your story a little bit, there's also this willingness to surrender and to break down. I don't feel that 100% you knew that you're about to break down or that things will break down. But there was a willingness that this option can also happen while you're hearing in your system both the truth of the material plan. Let me give you some information about what is about to happen, and you're also hearing the prophecy. You're going to be okay.
Yep.
But you don't know what will happen between those 2 points.
And I think that's it right there, that willingness. So even when I said, that there's something in this for me, there's something like this happening for me, sometimes that's found at the rock bottom. And so my willingness has really been to drop my own agenda, drop my human agenda in service of my soul's agenda, in service of my soul's growth, my soul's evolution. And because I can hold, like you said, this prophecy, this knowing of I'm going to be okay. It's like I'm really willing. I'm willing for the full human experience. I'm willing for the full soul deep dives. And sometimes that's going to feel pleasant and joyful. And other times it's going to feel hard, and it's going to feel heartbreaking, and it's going to feel scary in the unknown. And because I'm not willing to deny my soul, I'm willing for all that comes along with that.
And were you feeling during this breakdown, for example, because you went through a long period of a breakdown, which you love naming as a spiritual smackdown?
I do.
So during this spiritual smackdown, during the time that you felt you're hitting the lowest point, where actually, even I would say you were losing yourself, what was the thing that you were holding on to?
Well, here where you said I was like losing myself, I feel like there was like a rapid unraveling of who I thought I was, and then there was the finding of who I truly am. And I mean, the reason why I call it my spiritual smackdown to begin with is that I feel like there had been so many callings prior to my spiritual smackdown that I had not listened to. So there was the calling. I often say, like, universe, God, spirit came knocking on my door again and again and again. And I was like, shut the door, shut the door, shut the door. And so this next calling in the form of my spiritual smackdown was for me to really, like, there was no option for me to not answer that door, to answer that call. Now I forget what your question was.
The question was what was holding you. And what I understand is that what was holding you during the time of losing yourself and finding yourself was the fact that you've realized that it was not out of the blue, that the energy of that specific calling was building up for a long period of time, and you, we can say, ignored at that time, still ignored, and thanks God, stopped to ignore.
Mm-hmm.
Like if we compare the Jack who ignored the spiritual guidance and the Jack who's now completely following in business decision, children raising decision, family decisions. Like, I don't know if there's an area in your life that you do not follow your soul and your spirit. What is the difference?
I think the difference truly is I got so lost, I'll say, on the journey of being a human that I've always felt this calling. Like I can remember moments in my childhood, and then I got, like I said, lost in the human experience of I've got to make things happen. I've got to control it. I've got to do this. I've got to be the one to figure it out. I've got to hold it. I'm definitely a person that holds a lot for other people. So like I've got to be the strong one. I've got like all of this energy, and I could really, during my experience and what we're now, we've been calling my spiritual smackdown, there was really this dance for me quite often. It was this soul knowing, this soul calling, this like you're going to be okay, this calling to surrender, this calling to look at things from a new lens, this calling to trust, this calling to open up, this calling to return to love within me. And then there was the moments where my human wanted to step in with her control, her self-righteousness, that's like, I could do this and manipulate the energy this way, that where I was like, I could make this happen this way. I could force this. And every time I like even had the idea to do that, to allow my human to lead and not my soul to lead, there was like an explosion in my face. There was like a tidal wave. There was something big that happened. And it was kind of like, okay, you say one thing, but then you're willing to step back into this like control. You're willing to step into the place where you're not allowing your soul to lead. And so after a while, I was like, okay, this is not working in my favor. What works in my favor is when I feel connected to God, to source, when I feel connected to the divine, when I'm willing to trust, when I'm willing to surrender, when I'm willing to loosen the grip, when I'm willing to be led, when I'm willing to allow my soul to guide me. And so I feel like, I mean, I want to just say, I feel like I was like no optioned into it. I was no optioned into trusting in my soul. I was no optioned into surrender. At the time where this was a very powerful period of my life, it was 8 months when I was pregnant with my daughter, who is now 7. But during this time, I was pregnant with her. It really felt like, when I say I was no option, like I couldn't turn to the things that maybe I would normally turn to numb, to avoid the pain, to chase the pleasure, because I was like, I have this human growing inside of me that needs me to be at my best. And it felt like, I mean, I feel like I was birthing her, and she was also birthing me at the same time. Like she was like inside of me, nurturing this journey of growth for me.
Yeah, this is so powerful because I'm listening to it, and one of the strong experience that I have when I'm listening to this specific download is that I perceive the calling as like a portal, like a channel, a tube from us, the human, to source, where it is uninterrupted, while there could be a huge storm all around you, and like things could be making sense or not making sense. It doesn't even matter if it makes sense or doesn't make sense. It's like there is this direct connection that is activated. And while the chaos is all over, there is also like a pillar of light that is
Okay.
undeniable. Tell me.
This so I don't think I've actually ever shared this out loud or publicly before, but during this, what really was like my calling back into who I am, to allowing my soul to lead, to not deny my soul, was during my spiritual smackdown. And I had this dream in night school, let's say. In night school, there was this dream, and this dream I had more than once. And I just used the word tidal wave here. And I now currently live in Costa Rica. At the time, I was living in Canada. And I had this dream. I was walking down the beach in Costa Rica with my best friend. At this point in time, I had been to Costa Rica once, and it was like, I think 10 years prior, even maybe longer than that. So even the fact that this energy was in my awareness, I have no idea where it came from. But in this dream, I was walking down the beach. There was the jungle. Everything was just like a beautiful sunny day. And all of a sudden, people started running. And people started running because there was this tidal wave coming in. And my first instinct was to panic, to run, to have this fear. And somehow I didn't. Somehow I was on that beach and I could see this tidal wave rolling in. And there was this like little path through the jungle that I walked on, and I found myself in a building that was made of glass. And I sat there in this building, this glass building, and I witnessed the tidal wave come up and over me, come up and over the building. And I was sitting there in this glass building, seeing the beauty of the wave. And that image really like stuck with me for a long time. It's surprising that I feel like I haven't spoke about it before, because I felt in that image that was very much what I had been experiencing. I was like, okay, I can either go into the fear, the control, the trying to make things happen, or I can sit in sacred witness and witness the beauty, witness the magic.
Yeah, the emotional storm, as the ocean of emotions is taking over, and you can hold space for that. It's almost like your emotional body was being prepared for your mental body to surrender to this transformation that will have a ripple effect for the highest good of all.
Mm-hmm. And it just kind of kept coming through for me. It was like, can you, like, are you willing? Like, again, are you willing? Are you willing to surrender? Are you willing to sit in this? Are you willing to not control it? Are you willing not to be attached to the outcome? Are you, I mean, so much just, are you willing? And this has been like a very powerful language for me in my journey, in my soul's growth, in my leadership, in my business. Like, are you willing? Like, am I willing? Am I willing to trust in the unknown? Am I willing to follow my soul when it's scary, when it's hard? And I mean, my willingness is very strong.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so beautiful. And if we speak about Jack language, so I know, are you willing? And I also know you get to. Which is now seems like the other side of it. So you supported me many times in questions about my business and like how to, what to offer, what to, like what should I do? And actually I'm smiling now because we shared a few moments ago that today I was announced that we crossed 500,000. Right? So it's
yes,
like
yes, we did.
We do. And we're very happy for that. And I remember that sometimes when I was asking questions about how do I navigate my offerings, and because I keep on having this channeling and I want to do that and I want to do that and I want to offer that, and then there was part of me who was still not 100% and still learning to use my soul and my intuition and my wisdom, my spiritual wisdom, as I'm guiding my business, and it's getting better and better and better. And you guided me, but you get to offer the class. You get to have one student. You get to have 100 students. You get to teach this knowledge. You get to experience that container.
Yeah.
And there's a strong connection between I am willing and you get to.
Well, like honestly, like the words I get to are so powerful for me because it also means like I'm choosing, I'm deciding. Yes. So the same energy, like I'm willing, I'm choosing, I'm deciding, I get to. I feel like where we create limitation in our energy field is if it feels like, well, I need to, or I should, or I have to. So even, this conversation. It's like I get to have a conversation with Homaya today. I get to put an offer out into the world. I get to serve my clients in this way. And so everything I truly do in my business feels like it gets to nourish me. It gets to nourish me as well. So it's not about like I don't create any formulas. And I feel like this is where things kind of go sideways for many is like I create this formula of I need to do this, or if I do X plus Y, it's going to equal Z. And for me, it's all just I get to. So I get to do the X, I get to do the Y, I get to receive the Z, whatever it is, but it's not like they're connected to each other. And so I give because I give, I receive because I receive. I do free offers in my business because I get to give free offers in my business. I have very high level offers in my business because I get to. And I feel like this comes back to very much like I get to have the full experience of my humanness. I get to have the full experience of my soul. So even there's times where people are like, how do you like shift into like deciding and knowing that you get to have that next level desire, you get to have that manifestation. And oftentimes for me, it's simply, I've already had this experience, like spiritual smackdown. I'm like, I've mastered hard, I've mastered growth from rock bottom. And now I get to have the experience of ease and flow because I feel and I truly believe we're here to have this full experience. And so I don't create any evidence based on the past. Like, oh, because I've experienced it this way, that's how I'm going to experience going forward. I'm basically like, nope, mastered that. Like, I get to have a new experience.
Yeah. But can I share with you something that I hear here? This full conviction that you have, there's something inside of me that feel that the combination between I am willing to and I get to, this cocktail, energetic cocktail, is almost as you are saying, I am 100% using my free will to go through a human experience because I get to go through that and I am willing to go through that. So, as it is in my free will and as it is under my responsibility, I take ownership on that like fully and completely. So, however it will unfold, it's almost like it's already activated. Well, it's any case already activated within me, but I am giving permission to this activation to lead. I give permission to this something, this freedom. I choose to be a human. I am willing to be a human, and I get to be a human. So it's the same with I'm choosing to become a partner. I'm choosing to become a business owner. I get to be a business owner. I get to be a partner, whatever you want, whatever, the one who's listening, whatever you want inside of you. It's like this full ownership on that vessel can be filled by soul.
1000%. 1000%. And as you're speaking here, it's interesting even because I feel like, I mean, you and I have had so many conversations over this past year of being in spaces together. And this has been, really present for me, this conviction, this knowing, this energy around willingness and getting to be here for the human experience, the soul experience. And as we were completing our last mentorship container, as you know, very recently my dad died. Your listeners won't know, but there has been so much deepening of this in the past 2 months for me. There has been so much more unraveling in this in different ways and different layers of truly what I believe that we are here to experience in our lifetime, what our souls come into this experience for, what we leave with, what happens. Like So everything you're saying here feels like even more heightened and true and deep and real for me.
Yeah, I see, psychically, I see the vision of you deciding to move to the front seat of your car.
I feel like that's a very powerful vision of what I'm experiencing as well.
Yeah, this is a real, I can get the download, I can get the energy coming from you. So, I want to just mention some things that are really practical, because the people who do not know you and just, riding the waves of this conversation, they could get some ideas of how low it was when you went through a separation and reconnection with your husband. So we touched that part a little bit, and I highly recommend you to go and listen to her podcast, because you'll hear so much about that. And I want also to touch the height for a moment. Can you share some of this golden dust? Give people some motivation to follow their calling, not only because there's a smackdown waiting.
Oh gosh, what I can tell you, even through the spiritual smackdown, like what was the golden thread and light and energy there? Like I truly had no idea until this moment in time, like the depth of who we are as humans. I had no idea the capacity that I had to love. I had no idea the capacity I had to witness beauty, to see beauty. This is where I was saying, like, I almost before that feel like I was living my life that I thought was incredible. Like on paper, it was everything incredible. I thought I was having like this full experience of life, and I had no idea. I had no idea the beauty that was waiting for me, the feeling of connection that was waiting for me, like this idea before that I had of that it was even possible to be alone on this journey, like this deep sense of knowing that I'm not alone, that you're not alone, that none of us are ever alone, like not even for a moment in time, not even for a nanosecond. This idea that we can possibly be abandoned is like so not real unless we decide and choose to abandon ourselves. Like the and this is why I've said this a million times, like the experiences that I've had that feel like, the lows, it's like I wouldn't trade them in for anything, because they've led to the most incredible openings. They've led to the most magic, the most beauty, the most, truly the most love.
So beautiful. When
They've
I
led
was,
to me. It's led to me. Every experience has led to me finding the truth of who I am, finding the truth of who we all are as human beings, as divine souls. And so, answering the calling in whatever ways it's came to me, like has been the gift of this lifetime.
amazing. When I was contemplating about the names for the podcast, so now it's the calling, follow your spirit all the way in. But there was a period where I was saying to myself, maybe it should be the calling, living life enhanced, with all the colors, with all the taste, with everything alive, like really living it.
Really living it. And that was really the energy that I came into this year with, like came into the year of 2023 with. And this was on the back end of, like you said, making some big decisions of not denying my soul in terms of completing in my business, of the way that I was showing up and leading in my personal brand, how I was selling online, and what I had really put out and decided and declared that this year I was going to have the most amount of impact that I ever had. I was going to reach the most amount of people, like more than I'd ever had with my work, with my medicine. And I was going to do it in a way that completely honored what I wanted, where I was at in my journey, that completely honored what I wanted to experience this year as well, which was to deeply live and to deeply love. And so this year for me has been all about loving and living and enhancing, like you said there, enhancing life and the beauty and the magic and seeing, playing in all the realms with all the colors.
Yeah, it comes again, you know, I am willing and I get to. I'm willing to do that and I get to do that. Like I'm speaking your voice now. I'm going to share, and if I miss something, then you let me know. So you get to live a life of your dream in Costa Rica, in the jungle, in a beautiful house with two gorgeous children, with your man, running your business in multi-7-figure, if I understand well, and having an impact, as far as I know, on hundreds, if not thousands of people. Practicing. Are you still practicing surfing?
I am.
Practicing surfing, traveling to your homeland, having good relationship with your clients and friends, and probably many more things in your pocket. Having a retreat coming on soon in person.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm willing and I get to.
Because I'm willing, because I get to, and because I've become very aware of where I place or where I previously placed limitations in my energy field, like where I see so clearly now where I chose limitation.
Oh my
And
God. So now we're tapping into something, and I'm like, I'm already a few minutes wondering, should we come to completion and we do even just a short about overcoming limitation and setting standards? Oh my
I
God.
would love to. I would love to.
Oh my God. Okay. So we're going to come to completion of this amazing thing. And as it is my first recording of a guest, probably I should say that you will find all the notes and all the links. But just, you know, in this world, it's so easy to find a person. So if Jack touched your heart and you feel you want to be in her presence and you want to get from her medicine, find her. Follow the calling. Just find her. Be with her. Oh my
Thank
God.
you. Thank you. Thank you.